look at you. Come on, smile. That's better. Right, now, having got you to smile, I'm then going to reiterate what has just been said in the introduction, that there might be certain people across the pond who think that EDI or DEI, or whichever way you do those initials, is a dirty word. But is that really what's right for business? Is it really what is right for us? I would argue extremely strongly that it is not what is right for us. So we are going to have a look through these 4 areas to show why EDI is good for us as people, because we are people. I know we're talking about AI and stuff as well, but here in the room, we are people, and why it is good for business as well. So it's not just, oh gosh, get rid of EDI policies. It's no, think about what they are doing, what they can do for your work to make it better. So, first off, understanding EDI. Now, this is a really short session, so understanding it is going to be a little bit limited in terms of how much detail I'm going to go into. Tiny bit of detail. Essentially, we're going to talk equality, understanding equality. Now, equality is about giving the same opportunities to people. Now, for instance, if I was, I'm fairly short, but if I was a lot shorter, have I got the same opportunity to speak sensibly to you now? No. Now, all right, I could move here or there or whatever, but sometimes you've just got a barrier. You've got a door handle too high. You've got a way to get into a job which doesn't work properly for you, for the way that you need to access it. So equality is about making sure that the opportunities are available regardless of the individual characteristics of that person. The importance of diversity. Diversity gives us huge perspectives, and I'll give you an example in just a second on the next slide as to what happens if you don't have diversity on your teams. And then we've got inclusion. And I think we all hopefully instinctively understand how nice it is to feel included and how terribly horrible it is to feel excluded. You might need to think back to your school days when you were in the playground or something and somebody shunned you, even if it was only for the afternoon, or the group shunned you for a day. And you're sort of, Billy No Mates feels extremely uncomfortable. But imagine if that was your life, if that's what happened every day when you went to work. It wouldn't be good, would it? So that's as much as you're going to get in terms of the definition. But, as I said, I'll come back to the example on diversity a little bit later. Progress. Have we made any progress? Now, I'm an accountant. You're, I imagine, mostly accountants. So, FRC Key Facts and Figures. Fascinating document. Do read it every year. I do. It's really, really nice. You're looking doubtful. Can't imagine why. What does it say? Female partners of PI, public interest entity auditors firms. 25%. Is that good? Is that bad? Well, it's better than it used to be. Didn't used to have female accountants if you go back far enough. It's not spectacular though, is it? Generally, half the population is female, but, ethnic minority partners at PI firms, 10%. ACCA female members, 50%. Well, that's sounding spot on. ICAW, that's me, only 33%. Yeah, another. And then we look at FTSE women leaders. Now, that has made a lot of progress, look. 43% up from 34.5%. So there is some movement happening. Little bit of movement happening. Gender pay gap, yuck. Look at that. Median pay gap, 23-24, 21%, and a bonus gap of 40%. Many companies only improved by 2% in all those years. 2% improvement in gender pay gap. However, one company managed 24%. Now that tells you something, doesn't it? If you put your mind to it, if you looked at it and did something about it, you would actually be able to make some progress on it. Gender pay gap statistics are there so that we can look at where we are and drive change by thinking about what's causing it and thinking about how we could correct it. Now, here is a shocking quote. This is from the Treasury Committee, which was set up and did a study called Sexism in the City. I'm sure they thought that that was a good name for it. Sex in the City? I know, sexism in the city. That'll be good. However, there's no fun reading the report. It is shocking to hear how prevalent sexual harassment and bullying, up to and including serious sexual assault and rape, still are in financial services. So it's broader than just accountancy. And how poorly firms handle allegations of such behaviours. As I say, it's the whole of the financial services industry. As in 2018, which is when they did their first report, the overarching problem behind all these issues is that of impunity for perpetrators and culture. Remember that point on culture, we'll come back to it. And the limited progress since 2018 can largely be ascribed to a lack of cultural change in the sector. Now, I know I've said that's wider than just the accountancy profession, but that paints a really bleak picture. That's at the really dirty, mucky end of the water, the pond, the whatever. What's going on? Now, hopefully, you're thinking, no, I'm fine. I'm not down that dirty, mucky end. I'm sort of, maybe in the middle. Maybe you're thinking, no, I've really got this sorted. We're there. Brilliant, fantastic. Share that with everybody else. But that's the Treasury Committee's report on sexism in the city. So why should we, if we're not already, do something about EDI, or why should we carry on when half the world, a bit of the world, is saying, no, this is a whole load of woke nonsense, we don't want this? Well, let's think of some benefits for individuals of EDI. And by benefits of EDI, I mean, of course, good EDI policies that work. Well, it's fairly obvious if you think about it. A supportive environment. Who would like to work in a supportive environment? Only one of you. Oh, 3 of you. Are you gone to sleep already? Come on. Who would like to work in a supportive environment? Seriously? Thank you. Who would like a nurturing environment where their personal development is taken seriously, where people try to help them advance, try to help them improve, try to help them get good quality work? Who would like that? Oh, fantastic. You almost didn't need prompts in there. And the next one, I'm going to get you to say something. Promoting mental health. Something different, though, this time. Has anybody been aware of somebody in their organisation or in their work circles, but not their organisation, who has suffered mental health problems because of work? So stress-related burnout, for instance. How many know people who've suffered? Now, that was a much more willing sort of set of hands, wasn't it? Actually, this is a common problem. So if we take these points, what we're starting to build up a picture of, if we can take these things into account when people are working to create a better working environment, we should be able to reduce the negative aspects which contribute to these. We can't eliminate it, don't get me wrong, but we should be able to reduce the impact. So you can start to see what the benefits for business would be, can't you? So for instance, fostering innovation and creativity. A diverse workforce, taking diversity just to change the pitch a little bit, gives a whole load of different ideas from a very narrowly recruited workforce, for instance. So let's look at what happens, a really extreme example, when you're not diverse. This was from the book, I don't know if you've read it, Invisible Women, Criada Perez. If you haven't read it, you have to read it, it's fantastic. She looked at all sorts of examples of where women were invisible. And in 2001, so a long time ago, when Gujarat, India was struck by an earthquake, many homes were destroyed, because that's what happens in an earthquake, and houses were rebuilt without a kitchen. because there weren't any women inputting into the plans, and the men didn't think cooking was a thing. They just got fed. Food happened. They didn't quite know why, presumably. I'm guessing there. That was a lack of diversity. And as I said, it's a long time ago, so don't sort of paste that on India now. But it shows what happens when we don't have diversity. And we can take diversity much more broadly than that, of course, to get different ideas, to get important understanding of what affects different people. And think about the advantages of good policies. Value and inclusion. If we feel valued, if we feel included at work, then the employee is much more likely to think, hey, this is a good place to work. I'll tell my mates this is a good place to work. And if they're much more likely to do that, you get a nice, positive workplace culture, you get job satisfaction, people are more likely to stay, and we've already heard how difficult it is to recruit and to retain, and the reasons for that are far more complicated than just EDI, but let's get marginal gains wherever we can, and this can be quite a big marginal gain. And positive work environments also help to reduce ill health, help to reduce stress, help people to stay at work. So all of those are good for business. They're not just good for the individuals. So, developing an inclusive organisational culture. Now, you might think, as I say, that you've got one already, that it's really, really strong, or you might think it's pretty strong, but, we could always tweak it, we can always keep working on it. What sort of things can you think about? You've got to have leadership. Just as we've had some negative leadership on this issue in other places, you need to give positive leadership, and maybe even more positive leadership, to counteract the negative thoughts. I have to say, I get very cross when people go around and say, oh, it's a whole load of woke nonsense. Because to me, giving people opportunity to be themselves, giving people the opportunity, even if they're a little bit different to other people that are normally in that job, just seems to make perfect sense. It doesn't seem to be something that's a load of woke nonsense. But as well as leadership commitment, actually I think you need that top-down approach, but you also need the bottom-up. You need to involve the people, because we've just been talking about the advantages of having a whole load of people contribute to ideas. And if we do that by asking everybody else in the organisation, what do you think we should do about our culture? What's working? What's not working? Where is our EDI not quite working? Where are you, perhaps as a minority, feeling that, I don't really feel I can quite get on, or I don't feel I can quite fit in? What is the issue? But of course, you also have to spread it a bit wider, because you haven't recruited everybody yet. They are future potential recruits. So you have to think about those sorts of things. Now, unconscious bias, this is a bit of a whistle-stop tour, because we need to get in a few key things. It's something that hopefully all you auditors know about already, and if you haven't done stuff on unconscious bias in audit, please do, because it's that jumping to conclusions. Our brain is designed to jump to conclusions, because otherwise we'd be forever making the tiniest, weeniest decision. But sometimes it has really negative effects. It has really negative effects in audit when we are trying to be skeptical and our brain jumps to conclusions, and it has really negative effects here. Because we start to make decisions based not on evidence, but on other things. So, for instance, what might be happening? Job adverts might be more appealing to certain sectors or less appealing to others, or seem to exclude, because of the way they're written. Reviews of application forms might be biased one way or another, or promotion may not be fairly assessed because people are jumping to conclusions. And so you can think about, what should you do to mitigate that unconscious bias? Here's a little case study. A scientist called Moss Rakusin and her team created a couple of fictitious CVs. This is around about 10 years ago, I think. But it doesn't really matter, because the issue is still the same, I'm sure. They used John and Jennifer as the names at the top, and everything else, all the qualification, all the experience, was exactly the same. Can you guess where this is going? I bet you can. They asked various professionals across the whole, it was US-based, across the whole of the US, various professionals to review these and say, okay, who would you, like to mentor? Who would you recruit? How much would you pay them? Jennifer was perceived as significantly less competent, despite the exact same CV, with a recommendation to pay her 13% less a year than John. Oh, I wonder where that gender pay gap came from then. What a surprise. And that was all due to unconscious bias. Even women reviewing that CV were coming up with the same results as the men. It wasn't the men were doing one thing, the women were doing another. They were all using an unconscious bias to jump to a conclusion. Now that's scary, isn't it? So, what can we do? On that particular example, just a quick thing to finish. Use a mix of people to review job adverts. Do they think, no, oh gosh, no, I'd think that wouldn't be for me. Exclude names when reviewing CVs. I know some firms already do this. Check for bias in outcomes, in appointments. Actually, is somebody exercising unconscious bias? Given it's unconscious, they don't know they're doing it, so you have to look for other evidence. What other evidence is there? And we're good as accountants. Generally, we have evidence, so use it. And then, in an overall sense, we need metrics. We need to measure, because we like to measure. We need to measure, we need to judge, we need to see how it's going. How is it working? Is that working? Is it not? Should we change it? Should we pivot it? We need to regularly assess how it's doing, and we need to celebrate the successes. So when it's working, say, yay, this is good. This is having benefits for people, for businesses. So, my conclusion is that it is EDI, good EDI policies are better for everybody, better for individuals, better for work, better for businesses. Understanding it is essential for fostering justice and an inclusive society, and it helps to make sure that we can attract and retain our talent. Diversity brings all the different perspectives. It makes us more innovative. It makes us avoid silly errors. That's good for businesses as well as including the individual. And implementing effective inclusion strategies means everybody feels valued, and that also helps our recruitment and it helps our retention. So, a totally whistle-stop tour of some key points on EDI. But, of course, it's all a waste of time if you don't go back and think about it, and if necessary, do something about it. Thank you very much.